And good morning, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Pattison F Sports Show. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you, and with me, as always, is a group of companions on this very important Saturday. Joey Marks, good morning, my brother. How you doing?
Good morning, Philadelphia. Good morning, James. It is a beautiful spring day on Easter Eve. I love Easter for so many different reasons, the candy being one of them. But I
No, no
love,
peeps, no
yeah,
peeps.
I'm more of a chocolate Cadbury egg kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm right there
Um,
with you.
but,
Um,
I love it because it means that we are in full throat of baseball season.
right. Yeah, that's the thing too. We were supposed to have on Steve today, but apparently Steve is like having some technical difficulties and Wi-Fi problems and all. We'll have him on very very soon. But we have a jam-packed show for you here today. We'll talk about the Phillies and I quote downfall, if you know what I mean. The Eagles drift just days and days away, exactly one more week away, or actually 5 days away from the NFL draft. But Joe, we got a lot to get to on this Saturday. So simply put, where do we begin?
Well, we begin with those Phillies, which you don't know if it's Jekyll or Hyde. You really are starting to wonder.
Yeah.
Um, it's starting to feel like they're coming out of this mire. But we want to get into and dive into some of the highs and the lows of the Phillies, especially of the recent 2 weeks.
Hmm.
So, James, I gotta ask, what what in your mind has been the biggest cause for some of the downfalls for the Phillies, in the last 2 weeks?
Well, as of last night, I would say if there was a bad game by the starting pitcher, I would think it would be a big storyline because that was the biggest storyline coming into this game. Because you think about what happened like the last 2 weeks. Obviously, you had one good game from Sanchez, another good game from Luzardo, but then after that, I mean, we were starting to be inconsistent and Noah being like struggling too. And then like opposite day being Taiwan Walker always pitching to the capability it was, but then he finally came back down to earth. But no, I mean, but that was I think that was the biggest.
Taiwan became Psych One.
Yeah, fooled us. Yeah, he duped us, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, yeah, that's a good line, right? No, but I think that the other thing too is that the last 2 weeks was that they were just like swinging at junk. They were swinging at like pitches that were like out of the strike zone. I remember back in the day, I was playing MLB The Show, and I think it was like Rex Huller would be like, "That thing's in the dugout, dude. What are you swinging at, man?" And then it kind of feels like they forgot how to do that. But now I think after these last two games that they had against the last couple games against the Giants and also to close out the series, and then last night as well. I think it's a better positive to get back into the feel of that because like if they get back into that once again and get back to where they were at the beginning of the season, maybe it'll be a better outcome as the season rolls along here.
Here's my feeling is that we already knew the bullpen had its struggles.
Hmm.
We've already highlighted that, and I think the last 2 weeks proved that if the starting pitching, which we thought could be potentially, and we'll get to this a little later, potentially one of the best rotations in the league, when that part of our team starts to struggle, it
Hmm.
magnifies what the inadequacies of the bullpen,
Right.
because now all of a sudden you're handing the ball off not to a bullpen that maybe can pick up your starters, but now you're handing it off to a bullpen that may be looking at a 4-run deficit, and
Right.
they have to stay steadfast, and people are coming in with bases loaded, and people are coming in with two men on base with nobody out. Like, that's not helpful. I get that it's the reliever's job, but it's not helpful in regards to how effective a already malign bullpen can be as
Right.
far as what they can put out. Now, that's part of the story. The other
Hmm.
part of this story is what you brought up about the inadequacies of some of the hitting. And out of 9 batters, maybe 10 if you want to count a Mundo Sosa and whatnot,
Sure.
out of 9 to 10 batters, you're talking about maybe a quarter, if not a third of them are were hitting.
Right.
The rest of them weren't. And we're not talking about 1 for 4. We're talking about not hitting at all. Like in one part of this stretch, Castellanos had 5 strikeouts, in one game, and like that, I get that he bounced back, and Nick's not a guy that's gonna, you know, kind of rest on that deficiency.
Hmm.
He's going to continue to kind of work hard and kind of take more swings at the opportunities to be successful. And he showed that in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, this offense, I think, needs to get a little bit more creative about how they score,
Right.
because it feels as though from time to time they can't play situational baseball. There was a point with the Braves and there was another point with the Giants in one of the games. There were 2 games that the Phillies could have moved runners over. They had 2 men on, nobody out.
Right.
You move them over. Now, the Phillies did that with a double steal 2 or 3 times. I get that, but
Hmm.
you move those guys over, and then if you still don't have any outs, you then figure out situational hitting.
Right.
And you put bat on ball, you put it deep, you either do that or you do like a safety squeeze, or you try different things, and it just felt like they couldn't do those things, that they honestly could not do situational hitting for what it was worth. And I think that really hurt them, because 1 or 2 runs that you could get within that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing too. I mean, to piggyback what you said about this too, the other thing that concerned me the most too is before we get any further, Mitch Kowski joins us and says good morning to us. By the way, if you did not see our show yesterday, the debut of Fly Like an Eagle, myself, and also Joey will be on next week. We'll be talking all things birds and the NFL draft. So it was a good show. We missed you yesterday, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's like kind of like the Seinfeld episode, like why separate knob or hitting the snooze button, or Da Vinci mental alarm clock or something like that.
Yes.
But no, but back to what you were saying about the Phillies real quick though. Yeah, I mean the thing that drove me crazy about this team was it's just like when they had like runners at the corners. I mean they were like had bases loaded or like runners in second and third. It was just like they couldn't get them in, and it was just that was just driving me crazy. It's like,
Yeah.
and also I mean sometimes the problem was too was that they felt like they were like a little bit full of themselves, like to see what they look like, especially against pitchers. Like, oh, we got the bases loaded, and we can just like coast here, and then try to. And then, like I said, they kind of like smell themselves a little bit. They got a little too excited on the play, and then they swing at a pitch that's like in the dirt, and then the
Mhm.
inning is over. I mean, that was the one thing that really drove me crazy about the last 2 weeks too, because like it's not like they sometimes they feel like they forgot how to play the game of baseball, and at the same time, I mean, yeah, I mean you're gonna have your highs and lows of a season because there's 162 of them, but it was like something that like early on in this season I said this is like it's just too early for this crap. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and here's something even more to go deeper into that, is
Hmm.
that with regards to, I go back to Tyler Glass now and the
Right.
start that we had against him. We worked walks, and we made that good pitcher, because he's still a good pitcher,
Yeah.
like completely melt down in front of our eyes. And then I look at like the last 2 games, and there was something different.
Right.
So when they had the bases loaded, we talk about situational hitting, but within situational hitting is about getting ahead as the batter.
Hmm.
If you have that pitcher, if he's forced to throw strikes, not that you chase or swing or try to hit, play hero ball or whatever, but if you just swing at strikes,
Hmm.
and you put that pressure on that pitcher to have to throw strikes, then all of a sudden that pitcher's in a bind. And you saw that the last two games where they walked out in several runners. Now,
Hmm.
with the Aaron Nola thing, he walked in runners too, and he's got to get past that, but we'll get to that later on too. But
Yeah.
the idea that okay, it's like you said, we had the bases loaded, we have nobody out,
Right.
but because it could be Kyle or it could be JT or it could be Nick or it could be Alec, like whoever might be at bat, all of a sudden it feels like they get complacent
Right.
because they're like, all they had to do was hit it out in the outfield. Okay, then do that.
Suppose that, but sometimes it gets complicated because they want to
Right,
do too much.
right. Because you're like, all I have to do is hit the ball into the outfield. So what do? You start swinging,
Yep.
but you're not swinging at strikes because if you swing at the first pitch like Alec Baum did, or
Hmm.
you swing over top or late to some of the pitches, and you wait for the ump to bail you out like JT wanted to.
Right.
That's the difference, is that you're putting your fate not in the hands of yourself, but in the hands of everyone else around you. The opposing pitcher, the umpire, stuff like that. You have to take control of that.
Take charge of it. Yep.
Yeah, and I felt like the last two games proved that. Now, listen, here's the recipe for success,
Mm.
what you did, but can you continue that? Or are you going to get in your head again? You're
Yeah.
going to get cocky about it. Look, they went and they were 7-2 at one point, James, and
Right.
and
That's
for a
true.
little bit, there was a big perspective of, are they the best team in the MLB? Okay,
Right.
we talked about that, and then in a flip of a switch, because of the attitude or the perspective or the way that they went about their business, it changed the whole landscape of how you want to view the Phillies. Now, look,
Yep.
their record wise right now is the same as it was last year.
Right.
And last year, they did really well. They won the division and all of that. So, is it too early for panic mode? Yeah, probably. But it's like you said, it's too early for this.
It
This
is. Yeah.
this should be where you're mentally stronger because you've gone through the training. These days off that some of these guys are getting, Rob Thompson saying, it's a scheduled day off. For
It's,
what? For
those
what?
those things drive me crazy, Joe. I mean, you think about it, like, I forget who it was a couple nights ago. I think it was
Scott.
Stott. That's right. Yeah. I mean, Stott was like he had a very. I mean, the leadoff spot was like one thing we could talk about later on too about that
Yeah.
because I actually like that, like being him in the leadoff spot. But all joking aside, though, yeah, the thing that drove me crazy was like he does like, okay, this is a day off for this guy. This like, I mean, every once in a while he'll do that, and I'm standing there like, wait, but why? I mean, it's as opposed to you're supposed to be playing 162 of them. I mean, if you're taking a day off, you know what it is? It's like the with Joel and B with the load management shit. You know, it's the same kind of thing. It's
We're 3 weeks into 3.5 weeks into this season.
I know, I
I'm
know.
like, I get it. But they've had 3 days off already this season. And
Uh,
so
how much more time? I mean, I would understand if you have a day off, like to like let's say for example, like a game like I think today will be a day that you'll probably see. Like I wouldn't say Schwarber, but maybe like a cast. I wouldn't say Castellanos either, but I probably would think about maybe this will be like a day for. I mean, the only players that need the days off is probably like the Brandon Marshes who's been struggling, and also they need to find out what he is like later on. But like Stott, like was like sometimes like gives me a little bit of it's kind of confusing because it's like okay, so Stott is resting one night and then like a Trey Turner's, I mean, not Trey Turner, but I'm trying to figure out who will, I mean,
JT.
J2, there you go, yeah, there you go. And
But
I'm
like,
like,
I understand the JT thing because
I
you're
do too.
crouched for that long. So I understand that. But here's what I don't understand. Okay. You are a baseball player
Right.
who runs, I get you run around and everything. Outfielders, I think, should get more tired than infielders because with infielders you have less
For
ground to
sure.
cover. Outfielders, they got a lot more ground to cover.
Hmm.
So they have to run a lot more. So I get that. But here's the thing that I don't understand. Out of the four major sports, baseball has the least amount of player movement in a game.
It does.
And they're exhausted? I'm like, hold on. I get it. It's a grind. But like this isn't new. Like for these guys have been major league ball players for a while now. This isn't new. These aren't rookies coming in from college that play less games, that need load management, that you need to watch how much they this isn't your pitcher and all of that, but this is positional players that for me I'm like I'm just boggled by this. Okay, I get it, you want to get other people in, but you're not getting other people. Like if it was for Cody Clemens, or if it was for like a guy that um the like any guy that's on our bench that's not named Rojas or Marsh or Mundo Sosa, like if it's for any other guy that you're trying to get in the game,
Right.
I'm just boggled why we're doing it. And I still
3 weeks
think
into the season, like you mentioned, that's. I mean, I
I
mean, I would
I
understand All-Star break, but not 3 weeks into the
well
season.
well I even understand five or 6 weeks into the season because at that point you're
Yeah.
like, dude, I just need a day. I just need a
Sure.
blow. Okay,
Sure.
cool.
Yeah.
But my next question, James, is
Sure.
okay, the highs and the lows in the last 2 weeks. Do
Yeah.
you have you wavered on whether or not this team is a playoff caliber team?
Um. Before I answer that question, Philly halftime checks in. It says, "Good morning here." He's one of Mitch Kofsky's guys over at on his Saturday show, so check him out right after our show is over with Mitch. I guess talking about all things birds, Phillies, six. If you want to talk about the Sixers, I mean, I feel sorry if you have to, or maybe some Flyers hockey because they
Hey,
actually have,
we're with at least with the Sixers and the Flyers, we're ramping up to get excited about young blood coming in.
yeah,
With the Sixers, we're hoping to win the draft lottery. With the Flyers, we're just hoping to get like really um,
good players and
good players in here.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, but to your point, though, before I try to answer, what was your question again? I'm sorry, Joe.
So my question is, after the last 2 weeks, has your opinion wavered about whether or not this team is a playoff caliber team still?
I mean, sometimes, I mean, the thing that drives me crazy with this team, it's that 1 minute they look like they know what they're doing, and then 1 second they don't. And then there's just another game that did. I mean, today will be a prime good example of what they're going to look like in this series, because they'll have games like this. They have like a 7-2 game, and then they'll like blowout teams, or actually looking really good, and then the next game they look like complete other. Like they look like they're back to where they were at the start of it. Like that's kind of like the centerfold of this team.
Yeah.
And it's just like the same thing. I mean, you think about that Braves series. I mean, they had a really good game against the Braves, and then there was like one game. Like there was like I think it was the closeout of that Thursday. There was that Thursday night of the rain delay, and I'm saying to myself, it's like the inconsistency woes are going to tell you all you need to know about what this team's going to look like come October. Because if they can take 2 out of 3 out of series, I mean, I'll be okay with that. I don't care if it's a sweep, just take 2 out of 3. But the problem is, it's just if you like play one good game here, but play another bad game here and here, it's like after a while, it starts to come back and bite you where it really hurts the most.
Well, I also look at it like if you start to go in these stretches where you're losing four, five, six in a
Right,
row,
right,
that's never going to help you.
right.
It's never, especially in this division. This division, regardless of how the Braves started, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And for
Exactly.
me, I'm not counting the Braves out because of their start. I'm also not counting the Mets out. So you're talking about three strong teams in this division. You're
Hmm.
talking about three strong teams in the West. Like and then you get at least one out of the Central, the division winner. But
Yep.
my feeling is there's only 3 wild card spots, but there's 4 teams that are going to be vying for those 3 spots. So someone's going to be left out.
That's true.
And
Yeah,
so
that's true.
you got to ask yourself the question, okay, are you going to be that team? And so if the Phillies don't, put a lack of consistency together in this season, especially early on, they're going to get buried. And that's not going to, and again, it goes back to it's not how you begin, it's how you end. Okay.
Yep.
But if you begin with all this fervor, but you end with, being snuffed out, then you're the team that is the fourth team that's not going to make it into the wild card. And that's going to be unfortunate for the Phillies because that's going to be that trend going backwards. But you know what, James? Today, as you've mentioned, there's a 105 baseball game down at CBP. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, we have a great sponsor that's going to help you get them.
Yeah, Joe.
GameTime.co. Tell them more about it, James.
Yeah, Joe. Today's show is sponsored by our friends over at. Let me see. There we go. GameTime.co.com. GameTime.co. Excuse me. Calling all busy Phillies sports fans and Phillies fans. Need tickets last minute? Don't worry. GameTime.co's got you covered for all of your Phillies tickets, merch for all your Phillies tickets and all that and all whatnot. You can check out your seat view, and before you buy, can snag on great discounts on and so much more at GameTime.co. But remember to scan that QR code right next to Kyle Schwarber at the bottom of your screen, or visit them online at GameTime.co today. That's GameTime.co, and let's go Phils.
Yep, nothing more last minute. You're gonna get great discounts. Nothing last minute than a couple hours before first pitch. So
Yeah,
go get them tickets and go root on the Phillies today.
yeah.
Um,
Philly halftime checks in and says, Rob Thompson is a bad manager. He can't put his guys in the right position. Sometimes it concerns me too, man. I do agree. I mean, after a while, like after you see play, like we even allude to with the players, that it gives people that give not people, but give players a day off and all that. Sometimes they it's a little bit of a head scratcher too about what he's trying to do with this
well,
lineup once in a while too.
well, let's skip to that. Okay, let's get skip right down to that, and
Sure.
I'm gonna ask, like who is more culpable for some of the inadequacies of this team? Is it Rob Thompson or is it Dave Dombrowski? You
Hmm.
know, you got to kind of. I'm not trying to take Rob off the hook completely because
Right.
you have to make right decisions as a manager.
That's
But
true.
like, here's the other part: he can only work with what parts he's given.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean,
he's given a lot of good parts, don't get me wrong.
yeah.
But
No. Yeah. You're
but
right.
like here's the thing is that are those good parts is a guy like Trey Turner trending down? Is
Hmm.
a guy like Alec Baum in his head too much?
Right.
Is a guy like JT Arumuto kind of, flaming out as an offensive catcher? Is a guy like Brandon Marsh and Jose Rojas, Johan Rojas, um, kind of going south, like prospects that we had high hopes for, but we then put too much stock into them, like that.
Sure.
For all intents and purposes, I get that we picked up Lazardo, but was Max Kapler the best outfitter we could have gotten in the offseason? Is
Hmm.
Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh guys that we could have traded and wheeled and dealed for?
Hmm.
Is someone like Alec Baum someone we were holding out too much to get a great deal? We were like, okay, we're not just trading him for schlubs. I get that, but
Right.
like when you're probably asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars for Alec Baum, and you're disappointed that you're only getting the sun and the moon. Well, you got to make concessions.
Right.
Um, so my question still is with this, James. Where do you put the culpability, the responsibility for some of the highs and the lows of this and the inconsistencies of this season with Rob Thompson or Dave Dombrowski? Who do you think it falls more on?
Well, you make a good argument because like about what you said about the Dabrowski's moves about like with Album like being on the trade market and even like Johan Rojas is kind of like he's kind of seen the light. Obviously hasn't like basically hasn't shown up in a lot of the games that he has played. Uh, I would be sure too. If I had to pick one, I got to go with Dabrowski too. Gonna admit, I mean, and it's no disrespect to Topper because like Thompson is like having himself a little bit of a. I mean, sometimes like he concerns me a little bit with all the stuff he does and all that. But I mean, Dabrowski, like the players that he brought in are not going to take you to a World Series. They're probably going to win it. Like the Jonah Romanos or Romanos, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I mean, just seeing Jeff Hoffman like become a bona fide stud with Toronto, it's just like that guy is just like tearing it up at Toronto right now. I said, why did we get rid of him? I mean, it's no disrespect to Romano, but sometimes he's inconsistency too. He has an inconsistency. He has like a low level of inconsistency too. The Kepler thing, yeah, it was a good. It was a okay move. It was good, but the problem is, was it the is it this the move that will take you far? Because you think about what happened in 2022, and they brought in Kyle Schwarber, and then the next year they brought in Trey Turner. The Trey Turner thing, I'm starting to get to the point now, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, after a while, seeing off the same old song and dance with Trey, it gets so. I wouldn't say I'm not tired of him yet, but I'm starting to get a little agitated with him, especially what he's been like the last handful of years. Not just because of that standing ovation. Everybody's going to say, well, he hasn't been the same since that standing ovation. He was bad that season too. I gotta admit too. He wasn't like lining it up either, regardless of that standing ovation or not. I thought it was a bad move either way, but that's another story for another day.
Well, I mean, keep in mind that standing O happened in August. Prior to that, I
Right.
mean, you're talking about almost 2/3 of the season in.
Yeah.
Like he had a bad beginning 2/3 of that season, and I mean
He
that
was pretty
standing
bad.
O, sure, it rescued him, it motivated him, but like
But
you
it
feel
didn't
like
motivate them into this. It didn't motivate them into the season either.
right, and to
Only
the
for a
next
couple games, I think it was too. Gonna admit.
right, and here's my point: as a professional athlete, it's okay to get motivated in the moment. It's okay to embrace the moment, but you know what? You shouldn't need us hand holding you or hand. None of these players should have us needing to handhold them while we're in the stands to motivate them. They make a lot of money.
They do.
This is a part where you have to, see it within yourself to say,
Hmm.
okay, I need to do what's best for the team. I've said this in the beginning of the year. Is you want to fix the outfield? You have people on this roster that could already fix the outfield. Now, yeah, it takes away from your infield, but you got to take it from somewhere. And I'm also of an opinion that, especially with Amundo Sosa and how he started, my feeling is if you take some of that infield, you may already have people that can fill those spots. Like an Amundo Sosa, I think he needs more at bats. I think Cody Clemens needs more at bats.
Hmm.
I think these guys that aren't getting those opportunities, I think need those at bats. Now, look, I've heard the reports about Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford and how they're not lighting the world on fire at AAA. Okay,
Sure.
I get that. So they may not be ready right now. Understandable. But like what I'm getting at is that you could fix this lineup conceivably by having a Mundo Sosa, Alec Baum, Cody Clemens, Bryson Stott in your infield and have someone like Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, and Nick Castellanos as your outfield. I
Yeah.
mean, that leaps and bounds fixes your outfield.
Yeah, I think it does too. We got a couple comments here before we go one step further here. Philly halftime checks in again. Says, looks to me, Rob Thompson does not know when to pull a pitcher. He always pulls them too late. Yeah, sometimes like that is a concern. I do agree. And he also says, how come he always tells his guys to swing for the fence instead of telling us instead of playing small ball too? Yeah, that's where Trey Turner comes in too with that stuff too. Gonna admit, you think about the Trey Turner situation, that sometimes he feels like he does a little too much too. I mean, there's a lot of them that swing for the fences and also want to play. Dare I say, like a 5-1 homer, like once in a while too. It's like that's always their mantra. I mean, and even here's the thing about Brandon Marsh too. Since we're on this subject here, everybody's been ripping him about seeing like about how much he's like been playing poorly as of lately. Maybe that'll be a good time to see. I mean, would you, I mean this is a very good question to ask you, but since Marsh is out now, and you were talking about the outfield and all that, like if you had a choice between either you would put Trey Turner or Armando Sosa in the set at center field. I mean, like would you put Sosa at center field, or would you put Sosa at shortstop and put Trey Turner in the outfield?
I put Trey in the outfield.
Yeah,
I
I
would
do
put
too.
Trey. I would put Trey in center field. I would put Amundo somewhere where he's more comfortable and more secure within his defense.
Right.
Look, when he played outfield, he didn't do a bad job. I mean,
He's
I'm
playing
not
pretty
gonna,
good.
but it's not his, you know, it's not his wheelhouse.
Right.
Trey Turner has played center field before, and the
Hmm.
idea that if you want, here's my thing: if the majority of people are trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, then you have to have. And look, Trey Turner, Alec Baum, even Bryson Stott from time to time. Like they
Hmm.
haven't lit the world on fire
Nope.
defensively in the
Nope.
infield. So switching and swapping out guys and putting them and getting a stronger outfield and being able to swap guys in that maybe might
Right.
surprise you, like a Cody Clemens, like down the road in Aiden Miller, like
Yep.
guys that will surprise you. And because you got to put these guys on notice. This is enough. I mean, enough is
That's
enough.
true.
Look, JT could play first. You could have Marchand as catcher. You could have Alec Baum at third, Bryson Stott at second, and Amundo Sosa at shortstop.
Hmm.
That's one combination you could have. You could have Kyle Schwarber play first. You could like there's different combinations you could work with in this. Now, the difference is that you are going to inevitably take away from your infield defense, but
Hmm.
you are going to leaps and bounds improve your outfield defense. And I just feel like, and I get it, people are like, oh, they won't move out there. Look, this is where a manager has to be a manager. This is where I go that it kind of falls on Rob. Look, Rob has really good, ingredients. Can he make a 5-star meal? Maybe not because the players are a little old, the ingredients are a little older,
Yeah,
but
and they're kind of stale a little bit too. Like Bill Cowell put up it there too.
right, they're a little stale. Like you don't have the fresh stuff
Hmm.
anymore. Like now, so like Thompson's working with that, but he could still make a good meal out of this. He could still
You
put
could.
out a good product, but it's a matter of maybe these guys need to feel uncomfortable. Like
Right.
that's the thing that and what was brought up earlier about the small ball. I want to kind of put this out there. So I'm not saying that they need to just improve small ball. I think that's an aspect of it. I think where they really need to work at, and this is more vital, is situational hitting. If you're not hitting situationally in a game, then you're struggling to get those runs home.
Right.
It's like we brought up earlier, bases loaded, nobody out. Man on first and second,
Yep.
nobody out. Like, how do you get those two guys home or
Right.
those three guys home?
It's not complicated.
No, because there are different strategies you can use. It's not just hit a fly ball to outfield and let them tag up. No, that's one way of going about it. There's safety squeezes. There's, being able to shorten up and choke up on your bat just to poke it through a hole. Aim your bat. These are strategies, but they haven't implemented them. So let's move on to Aaron Nola.
Yeah. Before you do that, we got a couple comments here. Charles Adderley checks in and says, "Good morning on all the live streaming podcasts," and also says, "Hit that like and subscribe button, show some love. Appreciate you following us, and also thanks for chiming in, buddy. I really do appreciate it. And also, like he says, follow that, hit that like and subscribe button on Hardcore Sports Network and our sister station, Stream Punk Entertainment. Now let's address the elephant in the room about Aaron Noah. So,
Yeah.
where do we begin with that?
Well, let's begin with the record. Like 0-4.
Oh.
0-4.
Oh.
Now understand something, James.
Oh God.
This is not Taiwan. Now here's what I'm going to tell you. You're really going to have an aneurysm.
Well, no, wait.
Taiwan Walker.
I didn't hear what you said. What did you say, man?
I said, please hold your horses,
okay.
and brace yourself because I'm about to give you an aneurysm.
Oh, okay. I'm aware. Oh boy.
So, Taiwan Walker has a better record and ERA than Aaron Nola.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So, let's just chew on that, folks. That the guy that we wanted to, the one guy that we were like, ship him out for anything.
Ship off and ship out, right? My God.
Has a better record than Aaron Nola, who we just extended and will be a Philly for the next 5 to 7 years.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
He's going to annihilate every record that Phillies pitching has ever had. This is true. But here's the thing. I'm going to say something, and you're going to be like, "Oh, I don't like that comparison, but I can prove it." Is Aaron Nola the Philadelphia Phillies version of Aaron Rodgers?
Oh my God, dude. Dude, are you dude.
Now let me finish. Okay. So
probably got the Aaron name right, but Rodgers though?
Yeah. Well, here's where I'm going with this. So he got his money, right? He got his money. He may not be as talented anymore, but that doesn't matter. He got his money. Got the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the difference. Nola is going to crush records for Phillies pitching through the time of his contract. Through the course of his contract, he's going to surpass all the starting pitcher games started. He's going to surpass the strikeouts. He's going to surpass quality games. He's going to surpass a lot of categories. He may even surpass some of the bad categories like walks and home runs given up and whatnot. So like good, bad, or indifferent, Aaron Nola is going to own records. Sound familiar? Aaron Rodgers has begun to try. He hasn't continued his quarterback career with the hopes of trying to get a Super Bowl. To get a Super Bowl, he is trying to get stats. He's just trying to get those career stats up. And whoever's willing to pay him for it, whether it's the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New York Jets or whatever, Aaron Rodgers wants to do it.
Yeah.
Aaron Nola has his bag, James. He doesn't need to worry about going anywhere else. Now all he has to do is collect those stats.
Oh my God! Oh, I mean, before we go any further, Charles Adderley's, I think this, he says from the Nassau, Bahamas. Like we haven't talked to him in a while, so
yes.
Yeah, this is one of our good friends from the Bahamas. You know, I probably need a Shirley Temple with something else in it. After you told me that, you told me that stuff, man. Oh my God, Aaron, I still can't get over that. I'm thinking, wait, so I was probably thinking like, what's his name? Another guy. Like I wouldn't go any. I mean, I don't know how to explain that. I don't even know how to. That's bold. I mean,
that's a shock value take.
Shot in the dark, right?
Yeah. Well,
oh my God, dude.
Here's my thing.
No pun intended. They literally not.
Yeah. So let me ask this: Well, if anybody's going to take a shot in the dark, why not this guy?
Why not
Anyhow,
Rodgers and Aaron Nola? Right. Not saying anything
so
wrong with that.
here's the thing. So, my feeling is this:
Wow.
how, if you're Caleb Coughlin, how do you fix Aaron Nola?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, what can you do to fix Aaron Noah at this point? Because he's just. I mean, here's a question I have to ask too: is that we had on Damon Salim on either last week or the week before that. He always talked about Aaron Noah like nibbling like crazy. This is like now it's like instead of nibbling, he's like nibbling like times that like just it's like it should be a new saying called spinning nibbles on their like nibbling on their forehead or something like that. What Gargano would say, spinning nickels on his forehead. But here's the question I have with Noah though: 0-4 on the season, and Taiwan Walker is like
Better.
basically pitching better than him,
Mhm.
and now Aaron Rodgers comes into the same circle too. You know, it's I mean, if you spend all that money and also you assign him to that extension, you would have thought, okay, maybe I step up my game a little bit just to be like, okay, like sure, I mean, I would probably hopefully come out of it, but he hasn't had a good season and like the last 3 years can admit. I mean, probably the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, sure he had that Cy Young nominee year back and I think it was like 2018, but we're talking like Gabe Kapler years. And the thing that drives me crazy with Noah is that as much as it was a big factor in that 2022 World Series run, that I know that National League Championship Series, but the problem is that ever since then he's just been like really been a cause for concern, and now it worries me now if he starts to continue to go down this way. Like, does it kind of sound like Brett Myers in 2008? Like, does he find a way to
Ooh,
resurrect his career?
ooh, ooh.
You know what I mean?
So that
that's
that's
how bad Myers was too in
that
2008.
that's an interesting thing, and that leads me to my next question. But you bring up a very valid point about Brett Myers, and I'm going to lead into that. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to lean into that a little bit more. So my next question is: Ranger Suarez is scheduled to pitch Tuesday.
Hmm. Right.
So he's coming back. The hope is that his back will hold up, that we will see the Ranger of old, and we can kind of monitor his innings and meter how long we can get the most out of him. Now,
Sure.
that being said, he's going to probably take over for Tywin, and Tywin's going to probably go into the bullpen as a long reliever, which is going to strengthen the bullpen if
Right.
Tywin doesn't, blow up
Mm-hmm.
completely. But we also know that Andrew Painter is going to be coming up possibly in June or July.
Yeah.
So now when Andrew Painter comes up, they're not going to put him in the bullpen because they're not going to
No.
mess with him.
No.
They're going to put him in the starting rotation. Now, I know there's been talks about, well, when Painter comes up, Ranger moves to the bullpen with Tywin and everybody else.
Right.
Strengthens the bullpen even more.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to lean into your point about Brett Myers because
Yeah.
that's a very valid point.
Yeah.
Brett, towards the end of his career, started to lose a little bit of the control in his pitches. Wasn't able to put them where he wanted to put them. Aaron's had a lot of innings pitched. Same with Brett Myers.
Right.
Now, we moved into the bullpen because we could say, hey, we know Brett could throw 30 good pitches.
Correct.
We know that. So we know that Aaron could throw 30 good pitches if that's all he had to pitch. So
Right.
my question is, when Andrew Painter comes up,
Hmm.
is there a thought that instead of moving Ranger to the bullpen, you move Aaron Nola to the bullpen
Hmm.
and really fulfill what you're saying about Brett Myers? And now let's remember with Brett Myers, he became kind of the closer, but the other part of it is he became a kind of bridge from that starting rotation pitcher to the bullpen.
Right.
And that helped a lot. I
It
think
did.
I think it helped Matson out the most.
It did.
Mad Dog went like his game increased exponentially. I think because of what Brett Myers brought to that bullpen. Now, you put an Aaron Nola in that bullpen with a Taiwan or whatever, and all the other guys. My feeling is that's going to you got to now put a possible guy that's going to give you pretty decent stuff out of the bullpen as a long reliever. Now you
Right.
can get 2 innings. So say someone you want to reserve or conserve um, some of your starting pitchers like Wheeler and Lazardo towards the end of the season. Okay, now you got Aaron Nola that's able to come out, and you're able to take Wheeler and Lazardo out after like the fifth or the
Right.
sixth. Now you can have Nola come in and do 2 innings, and then you turn it over to your setup guy and then Alvarado.
Right.
Okay, that sounds like a reasonable situation. And then even if Aaron struggles coming out of the bullpen, yeah, I get it. I'm sounding like I'm ass backwards, but then you could go to Taiwan Walker if you needed to, another
Right.
long reliever. So my feeling is this: is that would you be opposed, or do you think it could be a solution that no, it wouldn't be now, but eventually that Aaron Noah goes to the bullpen? Do you think it will strengthen the bullpen?
Um,
Do you think it would have that Brett Myers effect?
it could. I mean, it could. I mean, it all depends on how bad he is. Like that has to like, translate him into the bullpen, you know. Because you think about that back to 2022 again. That's kind of like what they did with Zach Eflin. You know,
Yeah.
and look how effective he was in that bullpen that year too. So I mean, that there's a little bit good possibilities here, but I don't
And
think.
they
I
did
mean,
that with Velasquez, Vinny
oh
Velasquez too.
yeah, Velasquez did it with Velasquez. I think they
Yep.
did it with. I mean, I'm not like gonna say that it's not a bad idea. It's a good idea. I mean, just to get him like get his like mind right and also to clear his head and all that too. But I mean, the way they got him signed for 5 years, I don't think they're gonna. I won't. I'm not gonna try to like be tardy here, but I don't know if Topper will try to do something like that or something. Because here's the thing that drives me crazy about it. It's just that I mean, I don't know. I mean, the way they got him signed for 5 years, they're gonna be like, wait, so he's in the bullpen, so like, so he's just a bullpen pitcher instead of a starter. I don't know. I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think Topper would be able to try to do something in that effect. Gonna admit, Joe.
Well, here. So I'm going to touch on that because we brought this up earlier. So if you're Topper, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't put Trey in the center field. Why? Because it'll piss Trey off. You can't put Bryce back in the outfield. Why? Because
That's what
it'll
I'm
piss Bryce
saying.
off. You can't put Aaron Nola in the bullpen because it'll piss Aaron off.
Sure.
3 examples, and I'm sure we could come up with more, but 3 examples of how this manager is handcuffed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because, look, you're the boss. Like, I don't care what you want to say. You gotta appease the players, and I think this is where Rob Thompson is not always the right man for the job because he's too much of a player's coach.
He cares
This
about
is
the
where
players too much. Yeah.
you gotta put your foot down. And look,
Yeah. I agree.
Charlie Manuel, as much as this city will forever and always love him, his players will always love him. The bottom line is Charlie was a player's coach, but the thing is, you weren't going to get away with just running roughshod on him.
Right.
You just weren't. And J. Roll learned that the hard way. When you didn't run out of ball, sit on the bench.
Right.
I'm not dealing with your nonsense. Sit on the bench. But
Right.
I'm Jimmy Rollins. I'm your starting shortstop. I'm like, oh yeah, well, that's good for you. Sit on the bench. Like Greg Dobbs will play your spot, or Eric Bruntlett will play your spot.
Yeah. Eric
Sit on the
Brother.
bench.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna be
Like
going at too. Yep.
at least they would run the ball out. So at least Charlie had the stones to do it. I know that Thompson is a Canadian, and Canadians tend to be risk adverse. But this is where you got to kind of step up, dude. This like you want to lose
Yeah.
your job, that's fine. But like he could lose his job if he doesn't make some of the hard decisions.
Right.
And Charlie had to make hard decisions, but players respected him for it. But what I want to kind of get into is this. We're going to get into the Philadelphia Eagles, but before we do, I want to send everyone to a great sponsor. If you're going to go out to the Phillies game in the next week, you need to have good swag. Can you get good swag? Rally House. You
Yep.
got to protect the house. You got to go to Rally House. Tell them more about it, James.
Yeah, Joe, today's show is sponsored by our friends over at rallyhouse.com. Hey, Philly sports fans and Philly fanatics, Rally House is your destination for all things Philadelphia Phillies merchandise. From jerseys to hats, we've got everything that you need just in time and ready and style just in time for game day. Now you can pick up and your gear and get it delivered fast. But always remember to scan that QR code right next to Bryce Harper at the bottom of your screen, or visit them online at rallyhouse.com. It's a proud sponsor to the Philadelphia Phillies, and that is at rallyhouse.com. That's at rallyhouse.com for more information.
All right, so we're 5 days away from the NFL draft, man.
Love it.
It's always an exciting time of the year because you start to see the reinfusing of like this talent. And I go back to the last 2 or 3 years and seeing guys like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Kobe
Mm-hmm.
Dean, Nolan Smith, Keely Ringo. Like me and James would be on like text chains and
Yeah,
just
right.
going, "Did you see what they just did? That's crazy." And like
Howie cooking, man. That's exactly. I mean, that's the thing, man. He just cooks when it matters the most.
well, here's the other thing. That guy must live in the war room for like the 2 weeks, both prior to the
Yeah,
draft and after,
I
because
can
he's too
imagine.
exhausted. I mean, listen, the guy just knows how to wheel and deal the right ways.
Yeah.
And with this draft, it's a little bit unique because
Hmm.
it's a good problem in a way because we're Super Bowl champions.
Right.
So we have that going into this draft, but we are, however, the last pick in the first round. Now, James, there are a lot of holes on defense, and there
Hmm.
could be some holes on offense that we need to address. Now, I got my first question to you is what position do you think the Eagles are going to draft with the first round pick? What position do you think is the highest priority on Howie Roseman's board?
I gotta go with edge rusher. I think edge rusher is like the big priority. What they'll look like. Because you think about the times. You think about what happened. With all the players that we lost in the offseason, obviously like the Milton Williams and even like the Josh Sweats and all that too. I think edge rusher will be something to keep a close eye on. There's maybe like either edge rusher or depends on the situation, maybe a cornerback or a secondary. Malachi Starks is one guy that I got looking that the Eagles could probably get. Um, there's a lot of good positions that the Eagles need to like. I mean, there's a lot of positions that obviously they could fill the hole, but at the same time, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what what Howie does in a couple days from now to see. I mean, I would say edge rusher if the guy is there, but if I would guess that Howie would probably not stay at 32, if you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
probably move up maybe up to 20, maybe 21. If like a player is there and he wants to, if he's still like lying there, like what happened last year with Quinyon and Cooper to Gene. So yeah, I mean that's gonna be the biggest thing about draft night. It's gonna like if Howie like, moves up in the draft. I mean, and depends on who's gonna get. But like I said, there's not a lot of holes that the Eagles need to fill. I mean, there's like a couple of them that could fill the hole, but at the same time, I mean, right now it's a good problem to have, especially for depth, because like all the players that you got are there, and probably like I said, Malachi Starks or that player from Boston College, or maybe like the Texas A&M player that I saw that actually could be a real good fit here for the Eagles too.
Well,
Um,
we're going to get into that in a minute because my next question to you is this. So James Scorza, you
yes,
are now doing a Freaky Friday thing with Howie Roseman.
yeah,
Thursday into Saturday,
right,
you are switching positions with Howie Roseman. You
right,
are the Eagles general manager. with saying that, you now have to draft this year's Philadelphia Eagles draft class.
Hmm.
Now you have three moves.
Hmm.
Three, not, I know you're gonna have more selections.
Sure. Yeah.
That's different. But like
Sure.
three key moves, three things that you might do during the draft. You're in Howie Roseman's shoes. Whether it's a selection, like a particular player, whether it's a trade,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, whatever it could be. Three moves that you will do in this year's NFL draft.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, the first move is if there's a player, like I mentioned, like if there's a player there that Howie wants to get, I think that would be the big move that he moves up. So I would say to like either 20 or 21 will be, if that like a hypothetical. The second thing is, um, there's not a lot of players that the Eagles need like necessarily. That's going to be like a big factor. I think it's going to be more into depth. So that's why I said about Malachi Starks or even like I mean, and it all depends on too if they what they do with Dallas Goddard too at the same time with the tight end position. So that's something to keep a close eye on too. If they look to try to like I wouldn't say unload or trade Dallas Goddard at the draft and also and try to like try to bring in like a Tyler Warren or even like the guy from Michigan, even Michkowski brought up yesterday. And I think the third thing too is that like if Howie wants to like do a trade, I mean that's the most important thing too. I think you got to bet. I think somebody's either gonna answer the phone or someone's gonna be puking in their mouth about like, oh God, Howie's gonna try to screw me over, you know?
So the three decisions that I would make if I were in Howie's position.
Mm-hmm.
So my first one, I'm making a trade in the first round. I'm
Mm.
trading up.
Yep.
Not quite to the level you are. I'm trading with the Minnesota Vikings for the 24th overall pick. We're doing a pick swap.
Okay.
I'm going to throw in two fifths for this year, and I'm going to swap first rounders.
Hmm.
I'm going to go up, and I'm going to go get the safety from South Carolina
Hmm.
because Malachi Starks, I feel like, is going to be gone by that point.
Yeah.
I honestly do. And the reason why I'm trading with Minnesota is because Minnesota has only 4 picks this year, and they have a lot of holes to fill. So they need to expand their draft. So what better way of going there and saying, "Hey, I'll give you two fifths, and we just do a pick swap," and that might, you know, kind of give them a reason to trade with us.
Right.
Second, I am trading Dallas Goddard.
Hmm.
I am trading Dallas Goddard and my second round pick to come back into the first round.
Wow.
I am doing that to go get an edge rusher. I'm
Hmm.
going to either get the edge rusher, Mike Green, or I'm going to go get the guy from Boston College, or I'm going to go get this guy Nolan, who's a D tackle.
Hmm.
These are all guys that can strengthen that defensive line.
Yeah.
I am going to do what I know can make my team stronger. Why? Go back into the first round because
Mm-hmm.
that player will fill a need right away.
Right.
So if I came back into the first round, yeah, I lose the second round, but here's the thing, and I lose Dallas Goddard. But with that third round pick, I can get a tight end.
Right.
I could get a tight end that's still quality enough that, who knows what that could turn into. It could be the
Sure.
guy from Notre Dame. It could be the guy from Iowa. It could be guys that are still serviceable at that position. But with those two first round picks, I can shore up the safety position and some more of that defensive line depth all in one round, in
Hmm.
one situation. I drop cap off of with Dallas Goddard, and then I kind of go about it that way. My third and final move happens more towards the end of the draft, and that is I am going to sign uh, Simmons, the safety from the Giants. Uh,
Justin
he
Simmons.
Justin Simmons.
Nice.
I'm signing him not to play like he'll be like a Dory Jackson a little bit.
Right.
He'll be more of a veteran voice to help some of these youngsters kind of get more of a feel for the game and have that support cog uh, there in house. So I plan on doing that. But my feeling is that if you're going to go for broke in this draft, you go and you get a second first round pick. And the only way you do that is you go and find a team that needs a tight end. And there are some out there. Teams like the Denver Broncos, teams like, the Pittsburgh Steelers, teams like, the Chargers.
Hmm.
Um, these guys could use tight ends, and you already have a proven tight end in Dallas Goddard. So you go and you say, okay, look, I'll give him my second in Dallas Goddard for your first and like a fourth or whatever. And you still can bring in like another player. Like
Right.
there's still latitude that you can have. I just feel like when it comes down to priorities, what would I prioritize? I would prioritize the safety and I would prioritize the defensive line.
Right.
So you prioritize those two with first round picks because you got them under control for 5 years.
Right. And
And now you got a defense. You give Jalen Carter his bag, you give Nolan Smith his bag, and you give Jordan Davis maybe his bag. And
right.
now you're looking at a defense that ain't going anywhere for any time soon.
There you go. Yeah, and Bobby checks in. Our friend Bobby Murphy that always checks in on our show once in a while, says what's up to us. And good morning, Bobby. Thanks for chiming in. He makes a very good point here too about Howie moving up in the draft. He says Howie has moved up in the first round 4 out of the last 6 drafts, and I
Yep.
absolutely think he's going to move up again. Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to
Yeah.
happen too in that draft. To your point about Howie trading away Dallas Goddard though too. This might be a good question to ask you too. So, if you trade away Dallas Goddard, do you trade up and try to get Tyler Warren or that kid from Notre Dame?
See, I think the kid from Notre Dame is going to be there in the second or third round. He's going to be a day 2 selection.
Gotcha.
I feel like. And so I also feel like the guy from Iowa. And I also think the tight ends aren't going to go. See, here's the thing about the draft.
It's not a tight end draft though.
No, it is a tight end draft, but here's the
Oh,
difference.
okay.
But the difference of tight ends don't always go early.
No.
They don't always go day 1. I mean, some do, like the great ones do, like Bowers and whatnot do, but like guys don't ordinarily go in the first round.
Yeah, he's gonna have his career. I mean, it's kind of like I feel bad for him because like he's on a bad team, and that's the only player they got on that team. It's just like kind of like how we had a long time ago. Like we had the quarterback, but we couldn't get the players around Donovan. You know, same kind of scenario too.
I mean, and here's my thing about the draft. You look at last year's draft.
Right.
We thought we were not going to get Quinyon Mitchell.
Right.
We didn't think we were going to get Cooper DeJean. Both fell to us. The draft
we didn't have to reach. That's the most important thing. We didn't have to reach.
Right. And here's the thing, James, is that the funkiness about the draft is you could have Mel Kiper, Tom McShay, you could have Darren Jeremiah, like you could have all these guys come out with all these mock drafts, and they could all be blown asunder if one or two teams goes, no, I don't want a quarterback. No. Because the mock drafts that I've seen ones that have had one quarterback go in the first round. Mm-hmm. I've had one where 4 quarterbacks have gone in the first round. Yeah. I've had it where 1 tight end's gone. I've had it where 5 tight ends have gone. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like,
and it feels like all the time with the drafts too. Like they're always wrong about that kind of stuff too. Gonna admit.
Yeah,
like, they can never stay consistent with that.
It's always a crapshoot because you never know what other GMs are really thinking as far as with their need is. You can only assume it from a distance.
Just look what happened in 2017 when the draft was here. I mean, nobody thought I was gonna say Mitch Trubisky, pardon me, was a second overall pick in that draft.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is like when you look at some of the draft and the way that things shake out, you don't always realize. I mean, again, with Quinion, he was supposed to go 10 or 12 spots above where the Philadelphia Eagles picked him. The Cooper G
Right,
was supposed to be a first rounder. N'Kobe Dean was supposed to be a first rounder.
right,
Jalen Carter was supposed to be a top 5 pick.
yeah,
Like all these guys, like the way that the NFL draft kind of shakes out, it's easy to try and predict it, but like you can't predict 32 people's brains. You just can't. Like even with Howie, like you have an idea like what way Howie's gonna go,
right,
but like as we said in the first question I asked you is position, and the reason
mhm,
why I kept it so broad is because I don't think we could sit there and say edge, and how we could very well draft an edge guy in the first pick of the draft. That I understand.
right,
But here's the thing that I'm getting at is that we don't know which edge. Is it Mike
mhm,
Green? Is it who could it be? Like there's different guys that it could be, and we know that. But can we like lock down that that guy will be available then? No. The only player I think is a lock most of the time is the number 1 overall pick.
right.
Usually that's always a lock of who it is. Um so it's going to be interesting, and Cam Ward seems to be the unanimous number 1 overall pick this year.
Yeah, I want to get your point of view about this thing yesterday that Joe Giglio put out on WIP about this. So basically, he said yesterday that he would trade. I don't know if it was like AJ Brown or
Yeah.
Devontae Smith for Abdul Carter. So, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm being rude to Giglio here, but I said it yesterday too on my post. There was a little bit of a f bomb I put out there. I was like, no, absolutely not. But what's your take on that? So, about like AJ Brown, like somehow some way you have to like kill two birds with one stone or something like that. What Julio was trying to do yesterday to try to what do you call it? Try to get in Abdul Carter here for
I think Joe Giglio's been snacking on too many of Hugh Douglas's gummies. That's where I'd go.
yeah, I
Um,
bet.
you're gonna trade one of the top 20 best receivers in the league. You're gonna trade one of the top 30 in Devontae. Like either or, it doesn't
Oh
matter.
no, I'm sorry. That it was Devontae Smith for Jalen Ramsey, but I know what you mean.
I wouldn't do that either.
I won't do it either.
Yeah,
No, me neither.
Jalen Ramsey's cooked. I'm not doing that. Like,
And he had a beef with Fangio too. He had a beef
well,
with Fangio going back to when he was with the what was he with the Dolphins?
Dolphins.
Yeah,
Why on earth would I go get a guy in Jalen Ramsey that is gonna just take away a spot for a youngster?
correct.
So
Right.
basically, you're gonna take Keely Ringo's spot. What? He's gonna take Cooper DeJean's spot. He's gonna take Quinyon Mitchell's spot. What are we talking about here,
Yeah.
folks?
Why
Like
put why break two? Why like what do you call it? Why like what's
it's time for the kids to take hold of this.
exactly
Like that's what we know as a fan base. That's what is good for the team. Now, here's the thing. The whole AJ Brown for Abdul Carter. That Abdul Carter is this freak
ludicrous?
unleashed. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, ludicrous.
The next Michael Parsons. Okay.
But
Let's
yeah, I mean, you don't even. I mean, that's the thing. You don't even know if he. I mean, like,
hold,
there's a lot of players that like or that big up, like, don't they live up to the potential? I mean, I'm saying, I'm not.
agreed.
You know what I'm
Agreed.
saying?
But let's pump the brakes on that we need to have that guy.
Right.
Now, do I understand that having an Abdul Carter next to Jalen Carter would be insane? Yeah. But
Absolutely.
here's the thing. if I sit here and I, in my right mind, say, bye, AJ, bye. Now, look, I get it. The reason why Joe Giglio is saying this and Hugh
Clickbait.
Douglas is saying it is because we need to free up money. We don't need to free up money this year. We don't need to
No.
cut our
God
nose
no.
off to spite our face this year.
Right.
We need to worry about that next year. If
Right.
you if you bring it up to me next year, hey, would you trade AJ Brown for the fifth overall pick? Yeah, maybe because he's going to be 30 or he'll be closing in on 30. He'll be owed a lot of money. We need to free up. It's the same rationale of why I'm saying we're going to trade Dallas Goddard
Hmm.
because we need that money. We need that money not for necessarily the free agents. We need it as an emergency fund in case we need a free agent, in case we get hit with injuries.
Hmm.
But we need that money more so that we can start working on contracts this year for Jalen Carter and for Nolan Smith. You think Howie's waiting to the end? No. He
No
wants that
chance.
money now. He wants cash in house now so he can go, Jalen, let's sit and talk.
Right.
Let's get a number down. It doesn't have to be written in stone. Let's get a number down that you can be happy with.
Right.
That way, we have a starting point. You could sit there and tell me it's $100 million. Okay, that's a starting point.
Yep.
Is that where it ends? No. Is that where it lands? No. But maybe Howie hears the number and goes, okay, do you have a years? Or he may not even ask about years. He might go, okay, 100 million. All right. And he might come back and say 100 million for 5 years.
Right.
Jalen Carter might be like, that's 20 million a year. He's
Right.
like, oh, Howie will go, no. Listen, for the first year or two, it'll be 18. I'm going to kick it back where the last 3 years are going to be 21, 22, and 23. You're either that or I pump it up to 25 by year 5. At that point, Jalen Carter knows, okay, I can deal with that. I can live with that
Right.
because he's going to have more money than he can know what to do with. That's where Howie's like the king of money.
Right.
And I have all the faith in the world he can work out those numbers. But to trade AJ Brown now, no,
No.
it's not worth it now. I get it. Abdul Carter is coming out now, but you know what? Next season, when that draft comes up, there's going to be another big dude. There's going to be another guy that's going to shock it. And,
Right.
but do I think Abdul Carter is a generational talent? No, I don't. I think he
You never
falls.
know. You never know.
No, you don't. But if I to be comfortable,
Hmm.
I could put him in the same class as a Michael Parsons, as a Miles Garrett, as a Max Crosby. I could comfortably do that. But that
Hmm.
doesn't make him a generational. He's not Bruce Smith
Right.
reincarnate.
Right.
Like that I'm not, I'm not worried about. My biggest concern comes with I want to make sure that we can still put a good team on the field. And AJ Brown is a big part of that good team.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. I agree. I think the other thing too that really stuck out to me about it too. I was like, so why cripple two positions? Like why try to cripple two of them for the price of one? I mean,
right.
like you think about AJ and all. I mean, I think the reason why people wanted to trade. I mean, the reason why I think Giglio said what he said is because you thought about what happened last year with AJ with the controversy, the passing, and also he's a quote unquote prima donna. All he cares about is stats, like he said in the parade speech. But I'm not trading away AJ Brown. I mean, look, if there's like a TJ Watt there and say, okay, I'll trade AJ for TJ Watt or like some what do you call it, like a trade rumor like that. But I'm not trading them away to try to cripple one position. And who knows if like a dual quarter will be something. I mean, you think about
Yes.
Micah Parsons, like what has he done? I mean, he hasn't done much.
Right.
You know what
That's
I
my
mean?
point. And like here's the other part of this is that a guy that were with AJ Brown and
Hmm.
everything that I think it's overblown
Right.
what has been said by AJ. We love certain players that are outward with what they say, like
Yeah.
how they talk. But
Absolutely.
like Jalen doesn't say jack, and people rip him about that, so they can't make up their mind. Do you want the player to say enough that you can talk about, or do you want him to say nothing so you can rip him for not talking?
Right.
Like the AJ's the other end of the spectrum of Jalen Hurts. That's
Hmm.
why they both mesh really well.
Right.
Now, that being said, I'm going to say the same thing that AJ also said at the parade.
Hmm.
We're world effing champions.
Right.
Like, this is real. Like, we won this.
Yeah.
That he's a competitor. And sometimes when you hear a competitor, you hear their confidence come out. And then
Right.
everyone thinks, well, that means they're a prima donna. No, he knows he's one of the top 20 receivers in the league. Maybe in his mind, he even thinks he's a top five, which is fine.
Right.
I want my receiver to believe that of
Sure.
himself.
Yeah.
But what I don't want is for people to be like, oh, well, all this controversy. Hold on. Did we or did we not win the Super Bowl? Controversy or not? And
Right.
look, I love that Brandon Graham, after retiring, like goes on the WIP and kind of goes, "Yeah, I kind of knew what I was doing when I kind of poked that bear about AJ and Jalen,
Right.
because he knew by being in the locker room with those guys how it could galvanize their relationship together. And
Yep.
it sure enough did, because if it weren't for the relationship that AJ and Jalen had, we wouldn't have won the Super Bowl. Like,
Right.
that's just the bottom line. We wouldn't have gotten to the Super Bowl, and then more to the point, we wouldn't have won it.
I agree. Yeah, and
So
that's the thing too. Bobby checks in and says it's a very good point by him too. He says if the Eagles trade AJ Brown before June 1st of this year, that will occur a dead salary cap and hit around 31.6 million. So, and he says that's not going to happen either. So that's
yeah.
so. Time's
Uh,
yours, Joe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, have
No,
we
no, not
not?
you, Joe. Joe, yo.
Yeah, like, here's my part of that. $31 million
Yeah,
for a guy like Howie Roseman right now that's trying to play, budgeteer with his cap. You think he's gonna just blow $31 million? No,
right.
no, sir. Now that is literally cutting. That's not cutting your nose off to spite your face. That's cutting your arm off, saying it's okay. Like, no, that's not okay.
No,
Um,
it's not. And Mitzkowski checks it because that's the bottom line because Joe Marks said so in the words. And if you don't know what today is, it's WrestleMania Day. So I
yes,
would be sure.
WrestleMania Saturday.
I would be sure. Actually, no, Joey. No, not Joey. I would be sure you'll be watching it tonight, right?
Yes.
So and Mitch is doing a live stream tonight with a couple people for I think Austin Hamill and some other people from Hardcore and I think Stream Punk Entertainment. So it's gonna be a busy night across the and 2300 is gonna be jam packed tonight. I would understand. I mean, I don't think it'll be crazy as it was last year because they got a couple bands tonight that I'm going to see too.
Yeah. But let's get to another. You brought it up earlier about the relationship between Jalen and AJ. Let's get to the man Jalen Hurts. This past week, he
Yeah,
was
man.
named top 100 influential people in the world. Now,
So
look,
cool.
here's my thing. I already knew that this kid was special just on paper when we drafted him. And then I heard this guy talk, and then I heard like saw some of like his reactions to certain things. And I got to say, like this guy proves that he's influential just to his teammates alone, because
Right.
where everybody could be ripping him from the outside in, like all the media and everything, his teammates are like, "No, we ride or die with that man. Like we
Yep.
we, we ride or die with him." And like that says a lot about what type of person and what type of respect he has in that locker room in
Hmm.
a short amount of time. You got guys like Jaden Daniels that like emulate him. You
Yeah.
got guys like Bryce Young that emulate him. You know, Richardson, guys are emulating what Jalen Hurts has done because they know if they are Lamar Jackson, that's great. That's great. But not everybody has Lamar Jackson speed. So what happens when you don't? Can you still be a successful NFL quarterback? Well, Jalen Hurts doesn't have Lamar Jackson speed, but he's still a successful quarterback. And now that he's a Super Bowl champion quarterback and a Super Bowl MVP quarterback, he becomes a different elite level quarterback in this league. And
Yep.
here's the thing. To be influential as an athlete means that you can influence the next generation. I am a firm believer that Jalen Hurts all around Philly is influencing what young boys and girls are possibly thinking about what they can do.
Right.
And look, he donated air conditioners to the school district of Philadelphia so that way kids can go and not be sweating uh, throughout their schooling. It's hard enough to go to school, it's hard enough to deal with it, but to deal with it
Yeah.
when your classroom is 85, 90 degrees, not an easy situation. So, him donating that for every touchdown, that he would score in the regular season and playoffs is amazing. It's just amazing. And so for a guy, and believe me, for a guy who worked in the school district of Philadelphia buildings, where a lot of them, especially during the summer, where a lot of them were
Oh,
air
yeah.
conditioned, it was brutal. But listen,
I know that feeling.
yeah. So you have to understand,
Yeah.
like this is a guy that's influencing his teammates. He's influencing young people all around Philadelphia and maybe all over the country. He's influencing the change in the city of Philadelphia within the schooling.
Yeah.
James, I gotta ask,
Sure.
what was your first impression when you heard about this announcement that he was on this list? What was your first impressions?
It's pretty remarkable when you think about it, Joe. Because like you think about the times when everybody thought he like even you alluded to like because you were the biggest Hertz fan of all. Of course, and there's like a couple other people I know that were like up there with Hertz and like his talent wise and also what he could bring to the table. But the way he just became such a great leader on this team. I mean, the one thing I was like, I would say this though too, because I was skeptical about it after the 2021 NFL season, but I started to think, okay, this guy. I mean, if he only has an arm to, if he has like a better arm and knows how to throw a football, the next year, man, that season probably one of the best seasons he had and took us to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, he didn't win the MVP and didn't win and didn't get a chance to win that Super Bowl, but the way he just became such a leader of this team, and like even watching like try to pump up the team, and also just keep like everything like he always says, keep the main thing the main thing. That's what I love about that kid. I mean, I gotta say right now, he is somebody that like it's been a long time. I mean, I would say he kind of reminds me of a Randall because I wasn't born when Randall was, but I know how his like philosophy was when he's like when how kind of calm, cool, and collected he was. But I was really intrigued to see just to see how much that 2022 Super Bowl year and seeing that picture on his phone as a reminder every single day. It's like, how do I reach the pinnacle? And he finally reached that pinnacle. And the one thing I like to hear out of him is that it reminds me of Kobe Bryant. It has that Mamba mentality. I think that's the most important thing with him is that sometimes, I mean, I respect you, but I'll tear your heart out at the same time. And he's just such a great, great player. I mean, he's probably one of the reasons why they brought in Saquon and like Devontae Smith and even like a AJ Brown and he just continues to get better. And I think he's going to continue to get better. And this season's going to be even more funner than I would expect than it was this season. But the thing about it too, I mean, he's just become one of the best Eagles quarterbacks that ever lived in this generation.
Let's put it this way, in my perspective, and I want to tap into what you just said there.
Sure.
So I think he's the best Eagle quarterback of all time. And I don't say that
I agree.
I don't, because I look at a guy who's still got a lot of years ahead of him. All right. But he's
Hmm.
already been to two Super Bowls and won one.
Right.
The only other quarterback that's won a Super Bowl for us is Nick Foles.
Sure.
Yeah, there's been guys like Jaworski and McNabb that
Grant.
have gone to the Super Bowl,
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry.
but they never got the job done, and
Right.
they left empty-handed and never went back. And Jalen didn't only just go to the Super Bowl, lose, outplay Patrick Mahomes, and lose and be disappointed,
Hmm.
but he used it to fuel himself.
Right.
He used it. He could have pulled a Ben Simmons like,
Get
and
me out of here. For
yeah, like now I just give up. Like I'm
yeah,
not, I need more help and
yeah,
all this. Jalen was like, nah, I need to improve me.
yeah.
Now look how he did his job, and you can't rip him for that. And
No.
I think sometimes there's an indictment against Jalen, because Howie does such a good job bringing in a guy like Saquon that all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is punished.
Yeah.
That people are like, oh, he's not a good quarterback. Look how many times we ran the ball. I'm like, okay, wait. So you wanted Howie Roseman to go sign a running back for
Right.
all this money, and you wanted Saquon to sit in the backfield and do nothing? Like,
Really. Yeah. Come.
what is the point of that?
Yeah. I
You
mean,
got
seriously.
you got a weapon like that, and in Jalen Hurts' own words, why the hell wouldn't I hand it off to him?
Right.
Like, it's Saquon freaking Barkley. Like,
Right.
why the hell wouldn't I hand it off to this great athlete? Like,
Right.
I'd be dumb not to. And so again, it kind of goes back to Gilio with the whole AJ Brown. It's like
Sure.
the weapons that Jalen's got around him, there's no doubt like he should succeed, and he has.
Hmm.
That's the difference. Is just because he's not throwing for 350 yards a game. Newsflash:
You don't have to.
not a lot of quarterbacks are doing that anyhow in the NFL anymore,
You don't have to.
and he doesn't have to. And like last time I checked, the only stat that really matters, and Jalen knows this probably more so than most, is the wind column. When you have a win, you have a chance of getting a Super Bowl.
Right.
Like that is the difference. You could have 500 yards and go ask Tom Brady how he did in Super Bowl 52. He had a lot of stats. He threw for over 350 yards, but did he win? No.
Nope.
So guess what? That one stat that matters the most, wins,
Right.
he didn't get. Jalen Hurts focuses on one stat, the win. That's
Right.
all he cares about. It
Yep.
doesn't matter if he's got to do it. He doesn't care. He doesn't look. AJ Brown wants to come play quarterback. I don't care if we win, we win.
Right.
Whatever, AJ. Like I don't care. Like he wants to win,
Right.
and he's done it at a
Yep.
clip that hasn't been done in Eagles history.
Right.
This guy isn't just, setting the tempo for what kind of person he is on the field, but then you look and you listen to this guy off the field. He's doing charity events. He doesn't sit there and gloat and spend now, no offense, AJ, but he doesn't spend more time on Twitter than he does out in the community.
Right.
He spends more out in the community than he does on social media because he wants to leave an impact on society. And that's
Right.
what influential people do.
Hmm.
They create an impact within the community. And that's important. That's
Hmm.
important to Jalen. That's important to the city. That's important to many people that he helps. That's the difference, is what an athlete can do on the field matters for the NFL. What an athlete could do off the field matters to everybody else. So he's an influential person on both on the field and off the field. And look, I am with you. I think he's going to be better this year
Mm-hmm.
because I think he, in 2022, he saw the confetti and he stood there and he said, I need to take this in
Right.
because it's not me. It's not
Yeah.
my confetti,
Right.
but I need to take this in. And he used that pain and he mentioned it in the playoffs when he was wired up. He used that pain and said, that took my soul, man. I'm
Right.
trying to go get back my soul.
Right.
And that's how much that championship meant to him.
Yep.
Now it's a different mentality, but not in such a way where it's cocky. He mentioned this at the parade, and I think that he's trying to say this is how he's motivating himself for next season. And that is he looked into the at the Super Bowl trophy and saw his reflection. And at that moment he knew he had done it. At that moment he knew he had done it, but now he wants to go do it again. And like that's the difference. It's not a guy who's ever satisfied. And that's going to help going forward.
Yeah. It is. I agree. And the thing I'll take out of it too with J1 too is that even I brought up that year that he lost the Super Bowl and had to deal with that confetti and also it was just like it was basically like Kobe Bryant after he after he finally reached the pinnacle. It was like like it was kind of like what it is too. It's like Brian Dawkins. Like he says, I'm going to take your soul away, and also and like how like he'll tear your heart out. He'll respect you for playing a good game, but he'll also tear your heart out when it matters the most at the same time too. And he's such a great player too. I'm gonna admit, like
Well,
one of the best players I ever watched. Gonna admit.
I'll touch on this with Kobe in the Kobe reference.
Sure.
When Kobe won his championship without Shaquille O'Neal, when he kind of did it on his own and no one thought he would,
Right.
that part of what Kobe felt was that this meant more. I won others, but this meant more
Right.
because it was something I had to prove to myself.
Right.
After 2022, I'm sure Jalen even questioned himself, which is why I think 2023 was the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
You start to have those doubts, those seeds of doubt that come,
Yeah.
growing inside your head, and you don't know how to get rid of them. In 2024, I believe that Jalen was like, I don't want that anymore. Like, I don't have the doubts anymore. And I'm gonna work my ass off to make sure I do whatever I have to do. And I feel like Saquon had a lot to do with that. Saquon brought a breath of fresh air to a lot of the guys in that locker room because he basically said, we're good guys, right? Like you guys understand we're a talented team. And
Right.
he goes to Jalen and says, you're a talented quarterback. You're the guy. You wear that one for a reason. Remember what you said. It wasn't a first overall pick or first round pick. You put that one on your chest because you are QB1. Now go act like it. And he
Right.
did for the 2024 season. Speaking of another person who acted and reacted as a reliable person in the 2024 season, Nick Sirianni.
Yep.
Nick Sirianni entering this coming season is entering on his final year of his contract. He will probably go down, and I'll ask this question to you in a minute. He will probably go down as one of the best coaches of all time in Philadelphia Eagles history. Now,
Bar none.
my question to you, James,
Mm-hmm.
is if you're Howie Roseman after the draft, after some things settle down with the players,
Right.
maybe in June or July, he gives Nick a call, says, "Hey, just wanted to chat, wanted to see if you wanted to talk money about what your plans are for the next couple years."
Right.
My question to you is, A, do you re-sign Nick Sirianni? B, how long do you try and re-sign him for?
I would definitely resign. I mean, if you don't resign him after giving you a Super Bowl, I mean that's kind of like a little shady, in my opinion. But You know, the thing.
I'll remind you what they did to Doug, though. You know,
Yeah,
just
that's
keep that
true.
in
That's
mind.
true.
So
I mean, you think about it. Yeah, I mean, now you think about what happened, but the difference is what Doug was. It was just his quarterback was just becoming a real head case, and also it was a little bit full of himself. I don't think that's going to happen with Jalen Hurts. Going to man, I'm going to say it right now. But anywho, with Sirianni though, I say Sirianni will be here for another maybe 3 years, but probably a possible of a fourth year, depending on the extension. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing I take out of it because the thing I take out of Sirianni is just the players want to win with them. You know that I mean you think about the times when he said the rock paper scissors and the flower into the roots and all this and all this and all whatnot. They bought in. They bought into that, and it's going to continue to show.
yeah.
Like if and sometimes like he'll probably say something like a little bit crazy, like thinking like Nick, what are you talking about? But at the same time, it's one of the reasons why like he is where he is right now is because he's in a way he's like he bought into and the team bought into him, and to this day they still respect him.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You'd be a fool not to resign him.
Yeah,
The Doug situation is unique of in itself because I think there was two things. Number one, like you said, Carson was a head case,
right.
and I think Carson threw a hissy fit, and management thought, okay, well, what's it gonna take to keep Carson happy?
Right.
Maybe we gotta drop Doug. Okay, Doug, you're gone. All right,
Yeah.
Carson, you happy? Yeah, I'm happy. And then 2 weeks later, I'm not happy and I want to be traded. Wait. We just got rid of Doug for you. Now you're sitting here telling us you aren't gonna want to stay. Okay.
Yeah.
What the hell? So
Yeah.
with Nick, the other thing about Doug is Doug wanted when he lost his coaches,
Mm-hmm.
um, he wanted to bring in his own coaches, and
Right.
Howie's like, no. You got to clear. You can give suggestions, but you have to clear that with us.
Yeah.
You can't just be going all Bill Belichick because won
Won a
one
Super
Super Bowl.
won a Super Bowl. Yeah.
So Nick Sirianni's not that guy.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts isn't that guy. My feeling is they will re-sign Nick and extend his contract. I feel like though, because Nick is around my age, so he's still young,
Mm-hmm.
you give this guy enough rope to see how long he can make this now you're talking about okay, if you're going to extend Nick, you're going to eventually know you're going to extend Jalen.
Right.
Not now, but you're going to extend Jalen. You're going to try to keep Jalen here as long as you can.
Sure.
Now, that being said, you're going to try to keep Nick here as long as you can.
Sure.
Because if they can have success together, this could be like a Brett Favre, Mike Holmgren kind of thing, or
Mm-hmm.
George Seifert, Joe Montana kind of thing.
Right.
Like this could be that kind of guy. Um, so I say they re-sign him or extend him for 5 years. 5 years, I think, gives you 6 total years. I think you're looking at then Jalen being in his 30s,
Mm-hmm.
Nick being closer to his 50s, and then there being a discussion of whether or not, at that point, whether or not Nick is still holding up his end. But look, if Nick, by the end of that contract, has another Super Bowl or two, I don't know how you don't give that guy a freaking lifetime you know, contract
Yeah.
for the
Right.
Eagles. Like he's done things that the great Andy Reid couldn't do here. Like
Yeah.
that's the difference. So yeah, I think you look at it that way.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so it's gonna be interesting from the pre-draft and all the excitement and the hubbub to the post-draft and figuring out how to kind of extend contracts and start conversations and maybe pick up other free agents. I feel like we're just entering in on this off season of excitement for the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is where it's really going to pick up. And 5 days away, I'm excited.
Can you believe it, man? Can't believe it.
So But that's gonna do it for us for today. I want to thank James Scorza for doing all the producing. I also want to thank everyone for joining us. Everybody who chimed in with the text board and all of that. Um, I want to also thank the guys over at Hardcore Sports and Stream Punk Entertainment. I want to thank Mitch Kofsky for all he does for this show and all of that. Coming up in a couple month in a month or so,
Hmm.
me and James are going to have a new show that's going to be called Philly Fame Legends, and it's going to highlight different uh, iconic players, coaches, commentary, and places in Philadelphia sports history. We're going to have more details about that as it gets closer, but we would love for all of you guys to tune in for that. But for now, I'm Joe Marks. That's James Scorza. We are the Pattison Ave Sports Show. Everybody have a great Easter weekend, and let's go Phils.
Let's do it.